Okay, so welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast. Sonia, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So Sonia, tell the listeners about you and the unique approach to alcohol recovery.
Yeah, so I went through a really difficult time in my own recovery from alcohol use disorder, and I got sober essentially by myself without a big community around me. And that was fine until I went through a really difficult time, which was I went through a divorce a couple of years ago, and I realized I needed more support around my sobriety. So I looked for something that made sense to me, which would be a group of people that I could talk to that, really got to know me. They understood what I was going through. And there was some consistency, like we would see each other every week. And I really just could not find it. And I didn't feel comfortable. Every other model of meeting was a drop in meeting, and I didn't feel comfortable dropping in and not knowing who was there. They didn't know me. And so you kind of have to retell your story every time. And I really needed some sort of consistency. It was, especially going through a divorce, that's like the one thing you're missing. One of the major things that leaves your life is consistency. So I kept looking, couldn't find it. And I thought, maybe I could create something where we match people, match women based on what they're going through. They stay with each other every week, so they get to know each other. They know each other's histories and backgrounds, and they can really cheer each other on from that perspective when they know they've had a big triumph. Otherwise, showing up and saying, like, I'm 4 days sober, everyone can be like, yay. But really, your group knows what that really means. So, yeah, I slowly started coming up with an idea, and I came up with Everbloom and then launched it about a year and a half ago.
Okay. So it's kind of like a personalized, kind of like a group where the person doesn't feel as if everybody else is hearing their story and they're with this
Yes.
one person. Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay. So what does the E cost entails?
The cost
Yeah, E
is
cost. Yeah.
so,
Mhm.
yeah. So all our meetings are virtual. And also, I did that on purpose because I wanted to be able to take my group with me wherever sometimes I'm in Toronto visiting my family, and, sometimes I want to go on vacation, but you still want to have that support. So the options are to either have once a week meetings, which are $39, or twice a week, which is $69. And, some of these women have been together now for over a year.
So they've built this friendship now. They're kind of like best friends because they've been
Yeah.
talking to each other. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's a good way actually to recover from. I think a lot of people should take that approach. That's a good idea. So how do someone empower their inner development?
Yeah, I think with looking at alcohol use disorder, I think that it is a really major self-reflection, right? It's an honest self-reflection of, what your body is going through, what your mind is going through. And I think what we do at Everbloom is we empower you to make whatever decision works for you. So you don't have to be sober if that doesn't feel right. You don't have to pick how many drinks you're going to have a week if that doesn't feel right. We're really supportive of empowering women to really make their own decisions, their own judgment. If they've established that their relationship with alcohol is problematic,
Mhm.
we go from there. And so, there are so many different approaches, so many different scenarios. Some people will say, you know what, I'm going to take a 90-day break from alcohol. Some people say, you know what, I think maybe I'm just not going to drink again. I'm going to take it one day at a time. But I think alcohol doesn't serve me in my life. And some people say, I want to be able to have a glass of wine when I go out to dinner. And so we're supportive of whatever they pick.
Okay. If someone was to get into the group, Sonia, exactly what steps would they take? Would they contact you? Would they check the website? Like, what is the process of actually get to match with that person and staying with this person for a long time, talking and engaging?
Yeah, so the process is just go to the website, joineverbloom.com, and pick what works for you once a week or twice a week. And then once you sign up, you get sent a survey. And that survey really goes through what are the things you're struggling with so we can put you with a group that will understand what you're going through. And so it's a pretty simple process. And then typically you'll be in a group in the next, 2 to 3 days.
Okay, sounds good. So where can the listeners get in touch with you? I know you did mention your website, Everbloom. And what other programs do you have and other services do you offer?
Yeah. So, yeah, we're at Join Everbloom or Everbloom on every social media platform. And the other services are we have a Substack, which is basically it has a ton of resources and there's some programs on it that you can do at your own pace. It's not everyone is even comfortable with the idea of a meeting, even if it's a curated meeting. And we have a course on basically the atomic habits of quitting drinking. And I think the atomic habits are really important. And so that will take you through a series of modules on how to look at your drinking, how to attack it sort of from a small habit perspective. So making small changes that eventually lead to bigger changes. So that's on our Substack. And we also will give you recipes for mocktails and journal prompts. So there are a few different options of how to engage. And sometimes people aren't ready to be part of a group. And so I think the Substack is just a really nice stepping stone. And it's I have a podcast too, Sisters in Sobriety. So it's sistersinsobriety.substack.com.
Wow. So to the person, if somebody registers and you've placed the person in a group and the person is like, okay, this is not what I want. This is not the group that I want to be in. Does the person go back through the same process to be in the next group, or do you kind of work with that person to put them in the right group?
At that point, we would work with somebody. It's never happened before. I think that just the nature of Everbloom really attracts people who want to engage and who are looking for that connection. And there's no like bad group, right? There's no like group where no one is judgmental. There's no shame, and so there's really very little chance of someone joining a group and saying that they don't connect with it.
Okay, that's good. So, do you have any last words for the listeners about finding community and deep connection?
Yeah, I think it's so important in sobriety and really any struggles that you're going through to have that community support and to be able to talk honestly to people about what you're going through and not worry about any judgment.
Wow, nicely said, Sonia. So, is all your services, is it virtual? There's no like in person, it's all virtual.
It's all virtual.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you, Sonia, for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.